Hello, and you are very welcome to this week's episode of Cut Through the Noise with me, Aisling O'Rourke. Cut Through the Noise is the podcast that helps business leaders increase your sales through elevated communications and marketing. Here, we don't just talk theory, we deliver actionable insights to help you create a deeper, more meaningful connection with your target market. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you are safe and well wherever you are in the world as you join us on the podcast. This series, we're really focusing in on why you should be sharing your successes with your target audience. At the end of the day, people buy from people. So in order for them to buy into you and what you're selling, they need to know that your values align with theirs, that they can trust that you can do what you say you can. And that's why sharing your story, having visibility, will build trust for you and your brand in the long term. Now, I know a lot of you listening are genuinely afraid of being cancelled, what that might mean for you personally and for your business. And that's why today I'm speaking with someone who has had just that happen to her. Meagan O'Nan was cancelled just over 20 years ago now. And today I had the pleasure of speaking with her about that experience and why, despite it, she continues to share her story. Very welcome to Cut Through the Noise.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Now, Meagan, I'm talking to you because you have become globally recognized as an expert in conflict resolution, but in speaking about cancel culture. And in this season of Cut Through the Noise, I've really been trying to really deep dive into why we should work through the fear and share our stories, whether it's for advocacy reasons or business reasons, but that it's important to share our successes with the world. But if it's okay with you, first things first, I'd like to ask what brought you to speaking about cancel culture, because so many of us shy away from it.
Well, to put it simply, I got canceled. In 2004, was outed by an ex-boyfriend and told that I was disgusting, that I was a sinner, that I was a hypocrite by people who were my mentors, who were peers, basically my community at large. I was attacked all within 24 hours
Oh,
for
wow.
being gay in a small town in Mississippi, and it forced me to then go tell my family because secrets spread fast in small towns, and I wanted to be the one to break the news to my family. And I sat down with my parents, and my mom just wept openly. My dad asked me if I thought I was going to go to hell, and then my older protective brother basically said, "You should leave Mississippi because you'll be safer somewhere else." And at the time, this was 20 years ago, it doesn't sound like a long time, but here, that's a long time. And at the time, a friend of mine had just been beaten to death at a McDonald's for looking gay. And so the climate was not one that was super positive or secure or safe for someone like me. And so I ended up leaving Mississippi and going on this journey of self-discovery, building my confidence. And when I got to a point where I felt like, okay, I think I'm confident enough, I really wanted to come back home. So I was gone for 6 years. I decided to come back to Mississippi, and I knew that I had to face my own fears, my own internal dialogue, and the best way to do that was to come back home and face the people that I felt so hurt by. And so I've spent the last 15 years now, crazy to think about, doing just that. And it's what has driven my work in the world, what has driven everything that I do is this whole experience of essentially being canceled and excommunicated by my community to coming back and trying to find a way through it through hard conversations and facing fears.
It's interesting that your experience of cancel culture, it wasn't necessarily, now it sounds like a horrific experience, and I'm genuinely sorry that you went through it. but it wasn't necessarily social media cancel culture. And I think sometimes we forget today that cancel culture isn't an invention of social media, that actually we've been doing this to people for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. We have. I think it gets magnified under that social media lens because we're more apt to say something not so nice to somebody through a screen than we are to their face. And so it's become much quicker to cancel people, much easier to cancel people or brands or ideas or beliefs faster than ever, creating this whole idea and theory that we're so divided because social media, because of the news. So yeah, cancel culture has always been there, but I think it's just moving at a more rapid pace because the access of canceling people is so much easier to do without actually physically being in space with them and seeing how it's actually hurting them.
In my work, I help business leaders, professionals, politicians with their communications and their messaging, essentially. And time and time again, whether it's a client speaking to me privately or I'm delivering a workshop, this fear around being cancelled comes up. And in my experience, it's preventing good people from sharing their successes online because they're afraid that, well, if I say that I'm an environmentally friendly business, but I'm not absolutely perfect and I don't have 100 solar panels on the building, but I do have a biodiverse friendly meadow, like I can't do it yet because I'm not perfect yet. Or this fear of just being cancelled for being, promoting themselves for the sake of promoting themselves. It's really holding entrepreneurs back and as a result, preventing their businesses from growing. What do you say to people around that fear? Because it's not made up, it's not in their heads. It is a fact of life nowadays.
Aligned customers are the best customers. That's my first response. Cancel culture started as a way to hold individuals and brands accountable, right, for harmful actions. But it has evolved very quickly, like we were just talking about, into an environment where public backlash can sometimes become totally disproportionate, right?
Mm.
And blown up in a way that is unnecessary and not necessarily for a reason that is actually harmful. So it's this like pressure cooker that exists, but it also, like what's really inside, it's not necessarily all true. And when you think about the brands who have been successful at navigating being canceled, I think about Nike and how they handled Colin Kaepernick, right? Like they stayed true to their intentions, they stayed true to their values, and they've been able to align with their customers in a way. Yes, they've alienated some people. Yes, they've lost customers by standing strong in how they think and feel, but they've been able to build a more powerful relationship with the customers that are aligned with their values and their beliefs. And so I think yes, we're scared. We're scared of losing customers. But number one, you can't save the world. You're not going to be able to help everyone. And you want to have customers that you can have meaningful dialogue with, meaningful relationships with, ones that you can build so that you can retain them long term. So what I think is that if brands or people or businesses could focus on long-term trust over short-term popularity, then in the end, you're going to win.
What then? Playing devil's advocate here, and I'm hearing my listeners in my ears saying, "Ah, yes, but what about the money? If I get cancelled, that's it. The business is gone." And it comes down to that fear about the business
Sure.
disappearing overnight.
I think at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, like, how am I going to sleep at night? What is okay with me? How am I portraying what's true for me through my brand and through my business? Am I okay with the voice I have in the world? And if you're okay in truly speaking your voice and truly being authentic about who you are as a person and as a brand, then I feel my experience has been that the money comes. And then there has to be a level of trust and a level of faith and a level of being able to let go and let it be what it's going to be. Because at the end of the day, if you're able to voice that, you're not as attached to the outcome because you're being true to yourself.
It's all about going back to that value proposition, your business values, your ethical values, and really asking yourself if you can stand over it, and if what kind of business do you want to be in the world? What kind of impact do you want to have in the world?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's no different than you and I as human beings outside and away from our businesses. We want to connect with people that are aligned. It doesn't mean we can't be in relationship with people who are different. But when it comes to our business, we have to find a way to bridge that gap, right? It's no different than just the relationships and the friendships I have in my circle and the ones that are a little bit harder with my family members, the harder conversations or whatever it is. We have to find a way that's meaningful for us and is true for us.
What then if there's a team involved in the business and you want, as the founder or the most senior person on the team, to have a particular impact, to do things in a particular way, but there's a fundamental disagreement amongst the team? Um, how do you approach that? Because sometimes these issues that crop up, they can be really divisive, and there'll be some people listening who just, they don't want to bring politics into work. They don't want to bring religion into work, but yet these conversations are happening and people aren't quite sure how to handle them and keep the team working together.
You have to hold space for those conversations. You can't glaze over them because those conversations need to be had. It's going to create tension at some point because if you want to be truly innovative and truly creative, there has to be that level of psychological safety within your team. And so to create a space where you can have those harder conversations with intention and knowing that's what we're doing, then that's where you can begin. And no different than a conversation I might have with my mom is the same conversation I want to have someone I'm working with, and trying to truly understand where they're coming from and going into conversations with curiosity, with a willingness to listen, with an open mind, and not trying to change the other person, and understanding why did you vote for that person, why do you feel that way, why do you believe that way, and getting to know what's underneath the surface from that human being's perspective and their story often creates just this level of understanding, this way of connecting as human beings that makes their decision of who they voted for or what they believe over here a little bit less important, because now you understand the human, you understand a little bit more about where they're coming from, and it makes it easy. But the first step is just to create that space and the intention within the business that you're going to have those conversations.
Is the world becoming more divisive? Like, we talk about it all the time. We say the world is getting more divisive, but these have always been difficult conversations. People have always disagreed. There's been, global wars pretty much as long as there's been history. So, like, are we at times blowing it out of proportion, or is it in reality more difficult nowadays because everything is so public and on social media?
That's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked it. But I think that, as like you said, as long as there's humans, there will always be division. And we need to come to accept that. This is a part of our experience. This is a part of being a human being, is knowing that division will always exist and conflict will always exist, because we're here to learn and grow, right? But I also think that the media and social media play a part in making us think that division is so much bigger than it actually is. Because what I see in my community when I'm working with people who are from different walks of life, or from different ways of thinking, I see a level of vulnerability that you don't see online or in the media. I see a level of openness that you don't always see on Facebook or wherever it is you're getting your social media. I think it's much worse in our heads than it actually is if you go into your community and have real experiences with people. I think people really want to find a way, and people are putting in effort. I don't think we truly want division. I think we want to cooperate, but there will always be those outside sources telling us that we're more divided than we really are. That's what I think.
I was raised in a house where, I was raised to worry about our own house first, as in do what we feel is right in
Yes.
our house, but respect that other people, other houses, other families have different way of doing things, have the right to have a different opinion, and that it's my responsibility to defend their right to have a differing opinion. So that's always, I suppose, the lens that I bring to these conversations. And I think it's really important to speak to you about this because when you were cancelled, it was so deeply personal.
Mhm.
You literally had to leave your place of birth, your family. You felt in that you had to make that huge sacrifice. Now you're speaking around the United States, globally. You're a TEDx speaker. You're talking about these things so publicly now.
Right.
I'm curious as to the impact on you of doing this and, how the people around you feel about you sharing this so publicly.
It's been an evolution. Like I've been talking about my story openly for the last 12, 13 years on stages, in my books. And so the process has been one that has evolved. It's just been a bunch of baby steps of getting comfortable with talking about this and being so open. It's been a stage and a process for my family. Lots of hard conversations along the way where we've had to dig in and be honest and be real. And so I don't want to say at all that it's been an easy journey, because it absolutely has not been an easy journey. It's been a very hard, soul wrenching, um, tough journey to get here to where I am very comfortable talking about it. I am very open about my experiences. I'm very open about my family, because we've gotten to a place to where we're all okay with the part we've played. And so at this point in my career, it's it's okay. Like I'm okay with it. I'm coming from it from a lens where I am healed, and I have walked that that journey for so long that being here now just feels natural. It feels like what I was meant to do. It feels like this is where I can make an impact, so I want to do that. Is it always an easy one, an easy journey to walk? No, but I choose it every day because I believe in what I'm doing.
Would you therefore encourage others to do likewise and share their story, whether it's personal or business related?
I will say I sleep really well at night. I really do. And I'm not rolling in millions of dollars, but I don't care. Like I'm doing what I feel called to do. I'm doing what I'm meant to do. I've I've done pretty well. I've had some success. But at the end of the day, if I'm not in integrity with who I am and what I think and what I believe, then I am a total wreck. I'm a total mess. And I can't ignore that. I know some people can, but I can't ignore that. It's not part of my personality. I have to face things. I have to go through things. I have to push through things. So yes, I sleep really well at night, and I'm very happy with my life. Not to say there aren't hard moments, because there are lots of hard moments, but absolutely wouldn't change a thing.
Well, Meagan O'Nan, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you this week on Cut Through the Noise. If people want to find out more about you and the work that you do, how can they find you?
My website, meaganonan.com. And then my TED Talk was released exactly a month ago today. It's called What to Do When You Disagree with Someone You Love. And it elaborates more on my relationship with my family, my community, and the whole journey. So it's a good one to watch. It's a good 10-minute segment of that whole journey.
Well, Meagan, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us on Cut Through the Noise.
Thank you for having me.
And that was my conversation with TEDx speaker and author Meagan O'Nan about why you should step through the fear and share your story in spite of fears of being cancelled. Because at the end of the day, as she says herself, it will help you sleep better at night and it will grow your audience, grow your brand in a more meaningful and impactful way. I hope you found our conversation helpful, and I would really be interested in hearing from you on it. Has it encouraged you to just stop overthinking it and start sharing your success stories and making what you do more obvious to your target audience? One thing that I keep on saying with my clients, and I know it sounds blatantly obvious, but sometimes it's really hard to do. If you don't share your successes, if you don't share how you work and what services you offer or products you sell, people aren't psychic. They're not going to buy into what you're selling because they're simply not going to know it exists. So it is important to have that visibility online, in the real world, through traditional media, so that you and your brand can grow. Because as a very wise person said to me when I started out in business, your brand will never grow beyond you. So you must continue to grow. Well, on that note, I will leave it there for this week's episode of Cut Through the Noise. If you want to get in contact with me, if you want to get advice on your communications, your marketing and messaging, or indeed you just want to give me feedback on the podcast, the doors are open. You can get in contact with me through hello@thecommunicationscoach.ie, and I would be delighted to hear from you. And if you're feeling really generous and if you do enjoy Cut Through the Noise, please do give us a rating on your preferred podcast app or even a comment on our YouTube channel. Have a great week, and remember that while content may well be king, clarity is key if you want to stand out from the crowd and cut through the noise.